Okay, guys, this is the 25th of January, 2022, and this is guidepost number 5, attachment and authenticity. There, there is a video in the on the Circle site, and I've linked it below here, done by Gabor I at a SAND conference, where he is summarizing a book that he wrote in 30 minutes. So it's really packed. He just kind of hits the high points along there. But one of the themes that he touches on there has really been sticking with me. And so I want to bring it up more because I'm noticing it in other parts of my life than that I'm noticing it in the Sunday night conversation that we're having. But I think it's important for us as we're looking at what are our intentions for how we are with each other on this journey, on this pilgrimage. He's talking in there, lots of things that he talks about. One of them has to do with the fact that as infants, we are already connected to who we are. The only thing we're aware of is ourselves. But we become aware of how it is that we are dependent upon those around us. Our parents, if our parents or those other caregivers are not taking care of us, we will literally die. And so it's important that we maintain that attachment that we have with them. And if that is a comfortable attachment and we're absolutely confident that we're going to be taken care of, then there's some normal development that can happen. But if something happens that disturbs that attachment, where it is uncertain or it's conflicted or various ways in which attachment can be harmed, we will choose to be attached more than we will be choose to be connected to our own selves, to have our own authenticity or integrity. And that can then become a problem for us as adults where we don't even know who we are. We don't know how to pay attention to ourselves. We only know how to be or to try to be connected to others. Now, this dynamic is very much like one that, related to one that I've been aware of for a very long time, looking at relationships that are and how they're formed and how we create them to be what we want them to be. And one of the things that any relationship is going to have, but particularly a primary intimate relationship, is going to be one in which I want to be bonded to the other. I want us to be connected. I want that attachment. And so I'm going to be busy figuring out who it is the other one wants me to be, and to be that person so that they want to be with me. So I'm working on building that attachment. But at some point that begins to be too much for me. And I say, hey, we need some space. I need to be with me. I need to be bonded to me and thus bounded from you. So we need to be both bonded and bounded in our relationships with others. Sometimes in a relationship we'll bounce back and forth between them, sometimes very rapidly and extremely. That's a kind of diagnostic characteristic of people that suffer from what we call borderline personality disorder. But everybody is, to some degree, I want to be bonded, but I want to be bounded. So this has to do with the choices I'm making about who I am in the relationship. And ideally, we are able to do both all the time, at the same time. We can be both bonded and bounded. That's called being well differentiated. But a part of what I've been noticing recently is that it's not just who I'm choosing to be, it's who I want you to be. I was in a panel discussion many years ago about working with offenders, child abuse offenders particularly. And I was on the dais with a couple of other people who were up there, and the guy sitting right next to me was a fairly prominent child psychologist. And at one point, there was a question from the audience directed to him. But of course, when people are asking questions, you're thinking to yourself, how would I answer this? And the question was, so doctor, when you get a couple of parents come into your office, how do you know if they're abusers? And I'm thinking to myself, you can't tell. It's not like there's not the way they walk or anything like that. So he says, well, here's how I can tell. Some parents are very clear about how they want their kids to be. This is what I want from my child. This is who I want them to be. And other parents are like, I just want my child to be the healthiest individual he or she can be. And I realized, oh yeah, that's the heart of what it means to be abusive, is that you want to dominate someone else into being who you want them to be. when we have been in a relationship with someone that was really great, when we fell in love and it was this wonderful thing, we had this moment of being really connected, and it's, and if you've ever, I hope you have at some point been in love, there's this wonderful feeling, but it's kind of symbiotic. It's like the other person is exactly who I want the other to be, except that they're not. And over time, we begin to learn, oh, this other's not who I thought he or she was, and maybe there's enough other stuff happening in the relationship that it works, or maybe it doesn't. And so we move on. The problem becomes when my insistence that we have the relationship we used to have means that I'm going to insist that you be who you used to be. What happened to the person that I married? Right? Am I so attached to the attachment that we have experienced in the relationship that if you're not going to be who you used to be, who was the one that I felt this with, then you're betraying me. You're abusing me by not being who I have a right to expect you to be. Which obviously doesn't work, but it's actually a fairly common dynamic within relationships, insisting that the other one be who they used to be, or who I think I have a right to expect them to be. So I want us to be looking at how is it we're expecting other people to show up, and what is it like for me then to be invested in building a relationship with someone, and I know that they're not going to stay who they are. As a matter of fact, the purpose of the relationship is to help them be more than who they already are, to be other than. And maybe that means that we lose the relationship we had because now they're moving on to something else. Can I really be invested in a relationship that's built upon each of us being our best selves for ourselves in relationship, rather than being about the preservation of a particular kind of relationship? So maybe we'll come back to that, talk about that a bit more Sunday evening. Hope to see you there.